Hello again, everyone. I'm Tom Dirato. Welcome to the Eddie Sutton Show. We're back after a short holiday break, and as you would imagine, we have a lot to catch up on. Oklahoma State has wrapped up the non-conference portion of the schedule, 11-1, heading into Big 12 play. The Cowboys are ranked either 12th or 16th this week, depending on what poll you follow, and as usual, we'll have wall-to-wall highlights to show you. We'll also introduce you to this year's coaching staff on our off-the-court feature, and we'll have a surprise or two along the way, so you stay with us. We'll get after it after this opening timeout.
The Eddie Sutton Show is brought to you by Jeep and your local Jeep dealers, who invite you to test drive the award-winning Grand Cherokee. Jeep, there's only one. By Phillips 66, the performance company. By Great Plains Coca-Cola Bottling, your local distributor of Dr. Pepper. By Oklahoma Tank Lines. By the Johnson Auto family, just a short drive from high prices. By Oklahoma's pork producers and the Oklahoma Pork Council, providers of pork, the other white meat. And by the OSU Posse, reminding you to wear orange and purchase officially licensed OSU products.
Are you crazy? No, Johnny, don't!
I got to see it!
No, Johnny! Johnny, I'm telling your mother!
Well, welcome back to the show. And Eddie, we mentioned non-conference basketball is over. Now it's Big 12 play. I don't know any coach is just totally ready to jump into conference play, so where do we stand?
I think most coaches always want one more week, a couple more non-conference games, but it is here. I think that we've learned a lot about our basketball team. We've played some quality minutes at times, but there have been times for an experienced ball club like ours that I've been a little disappointed, and hopefully we can get more consistent and play for longer periods of time without having a 2 or 3 minute interval where we just don't play very well at either end of the court.
X and O wise, a couple of areas that we've harped upon each and every game, each and every week, keeping them off the offensive boards and playing more consistent defense. Still a concern? I
think those are the two items that we really have worked hard during the holiday break to try to get better defensively. And at times we're excellent, but at times we have too many defensive breakdowns. But the biggest bugaboo is our inability to keep people off the glass. We've given up too many offensive rebounds, too many second opportunities to ball clubs, and when you get into Big 12 competition, that's going to beat you.
Well, since our last visit, we've been to some of the great cities around the country, and of course we played a basketball game or two while on those trips, and we started right off in Las Vegas.
Well, you mentioned we were in Vegas, Seattle, and New Orleans, 3 great cities that we have here in our country, and in this particular game, they had built this game up really outside of their conference as being the big game of the year, and they're a nice ball club, and Joe starts it off with what we call our number 2 secondary break and hits a 3-pointer.
I'll tell you, we're going to get to the second half. What a great pass and a great feed, and a great slam down by Desmond, but I think the overriding theme in these first 2 highlight packages has to be the play of Glendon off the bench.
Well, Glendon and also I would say Frederick played awfully well off of the bench as well. But Doug continues to lead the country in assists and made some marvelous passes not only in this game but in all the games that we've played since the last time we were here on this TV set.
And it's almost a crime when we don't ever mention Desmond playing well because you almost grow to expect the 20 points and double-digit rebounds, but he had 2 of the 3 games he was exceptional.
Well, in the 2 games on the West Coast trip when we went to Vegas and Seattle, he was outstanding. I thought in both these games it was typical of the way our team was played. In the first half, we kind of struggled, so-so. In the second half, in both games, we really played outstanding basketball, and we were able to break the game open and win by double figures.
The first 2 stops on the tour, you and your assistant coaches had to deal with foul problems, and Brian Montanati, Alex Weber, 2 of your big men, put you in a situation where you were shuttling players in and off that bench.
Well, I think those 2 young men are both really good basketball players, and I can't say enough about Montanati the way he's played this year. He's just been terrific. But they both have a tendency to pick up what I call nickel and dime or careless fouls. That's a great pass, and I just wish I could be able to do that one time, go up there and catch a ball like Desmond and flush it.
Well, if you had a ladder, you might be able to get up there, a little step stool.
That's what I'd take. That's what I'd need for that. But that's another area. When you foul, you not only get in foul trouble, but you move the other team closer to the bonus situation. And Jason Keep came in this ball game and helped in that category as far as spelling Alex and Brian.
We unveiled a 1-1-3 in this particular game, and I never did think you played as much. I actually tried to wager a soft drink or two on that. I'm glad I didn't. I'd been out.
Well, we were forced to go to zone, and I much prefer to play man defense, but there are times that you do need to go to a zone, and in this particular game, I think the zone helped us win because we were in foul trouble.
Well, there's Glendon, as we mentioned, and it was kind of a deja vu for him in this game, coming off, sparking that run that the Cowboys put together in the second half, gave him a lead, and he did it again at Seattle.
Great perimeter shooter. When he has time to get set up like he did there, now he can really shoot the basketball. You can see he's having a good time. I like that when guys are playing. Basketball is a wonderful game, and it's meant to be played with enthusiasm and intensity. And I think Glendon has a lot of fun playing, and you'll see when he hits a big shot, he'll get a big smile on his face.
Look at Fred battling hard. That was a big, big play right there. You talk about a guy excited, huh?
His mother and father had flown in from Sweden, and this was the first time they had seen him play this year. And you know, we've mentioned this so many times, but Frederick and Brian both have really improved their game from a year ago. And there you see, congratulating their coaching staff. Big win for us. And we had a sizable delegation of people that went out there with us, guys. And now we are on to Seattle. We're playing on the floor where the Sonics play. The University of Washington is doing some of the same thing that we're doing with our arena. They're renovating it. And so they're playing all their games downtown in where the Sonics play. And
the value of Brian Montanati, when he's in the ball game, he's active underneath, he gets the follow, he's going to hit the free throw, and that's what you want to see.
Well, he has become really an offensive weapon. When he gets faced up, facing the basket from 15, 18 feet, now he can really shoot the ball, but he also is very clever down in the low post area. Quick jumper, and I think that allows him to get a lot of rebounds there. You can see how quickly he got off the floor on that shot.
Well, we saw a little bit in the western swing, a great feed. Oh, man, look at that. But we're going to see it probably a little bit more. They're going to shade Desmond, they're going to shade Glendon, they're going to shade Atkins, kind of zone up in the middle. They're going to dare Brian and or Doug to come up and beat them.
Well, and Brian's been able to do that. Doug has been a little inconsistent in his shooting, but hopefully as we get into Big 12 play, he'll be able to step up and hit those open jumpers. In the last game we had with Langston, he was able to do that.
You like that triangle too, when they just leave it as loose as they did. Now, when I ran it, I didn't run it that loose, so don't be accusing me of that. But the Cowboys, again, they acquired a mental toughness, I think, on this road tour. This was not going to be easy. You knew that. These were two tough teams to play in their home park.
I agree. I think the fact that we do have a lot of experience, a lot of seniors, they've been to war a lot of times the last 2 years and going to the NCAA tournament and playing in a tough league. They were able to be really pretty tough-minded, tough physically. We let down a little bit when we went down to New Orleans, played LSU, but you also got to give them credit. They're very athletic, and we didn't do as good a job.
And as I mentioned earlier on, as Joe nails one from out there on the arc, you were in foul problems here again, and you saw Fred come in and kind of carry a big load along with Desmond.
We got in foul trouble quickly in this game with Alex and Brian, and that we were forced to go to zone early. And Brian and Desmond did pick up some of the slack. This is a game where I think we could have used Andre because he could have banged with some of their big people. LSU's a nice ball club. I think they're one of the 2 or 3 teams left undefeated in the country.
You mentioned LSU, obviously a battle of the unbeatens, but let's go back to Andre a little bit. We needed him on those first 2 legs of the trip. He hasn't played since the UNLV trip out there. It's got to be frustrating to the coaches, more frustrating to Andre.
Well, I think he's handled it fairly well, but it has been frustrating for all of us. And, of course, it's in the appeal process now, and we just have to wait and see what the NCAA decides.
Well, it was a battle, as we said, 2 undefeated teams down in the Bayou, and I think very few people knew how good New Orleans was coming into this game, but I think they convinced a few people the way they played. They got a couple of guys who'll probably be playing in the NBA someday.
Well, they do have a couple of the people on their front line that are, I think, going to carry them a long ways this year. Smith is good, but Swift is better. And I think there were 20 pro scouts there to watch this game. Of course, they came to watch Desmond, and I was disappointed that he didn't play a little bit better. And they did a good job defensively on him. And we just seemed like, to me, and there's a good example of Swift and his ability to get off on the floor. He's about 6'11", just a sophomore, but believe me, if he stays healthy and continues to work, we'll be hearing about him someday in the NBA. One
of the worst things you can do in an emotional game like this when you're playing on the road is spot that home team, and in this case they were at home, frankly, because they're just down the road from Baton Rouge, but spot them a lead and have to play catch-up.
Well, you're always better off to make teams come to you and get ahead of them, and we weren't able to do that. I think we got up 17-14
right
with about halfway through the first half, and then we just really got out of sync, and we had open shots, we didn't hit them, and then we had some defensive breakdowns. A great pass by Gottlieb off to Fred. If you run the floor hard, you got someone that can pass the ball like Doug, you're going to get some easy shots in transition.
Yeah, good things will happen. As you said, right now it's back and forth, and really you felt like at 17-14, there's Glendon getting ready to nail one of his 53% of his three-point shots over the last 7 games. You felt like we were in a position to make a run right there, but Roland kind of stepped up for them.
Roland was a junior college transfer that came into their program this year, was highly recruited out of junior college, and had just a sensational night. I think he led all scorers in this ball game. He had 20-some points, and there you can see we're going to halftime, and we're down by 7 points. It didn't 29 points. If you hold a team to 29 points,
yeah,
you ought to be in better shape than that. But when you're down, you only scored 22 points in 20 minutes. You've really played poorly offensively. And that came, I think we scored like 5 points in the last 10 minutes.
That's correct. Got outscored 16-5 over the last 12 minutes of the first half. But even as poorly as we played, you had the feeling that, you know, hey, this is going to come around in the second half, and the Cowboys did make a run, got it back to within 1.
Basketball is a game of momentum, and when you have the momentum, you want to extend it. We ran a special play there for Desmond, and we thought that would get the team on track because sometimes they play off of emotion like most ball clubs. And when you don't have momentum, then you want to curtail that momentum as best you can. And we had some runs, and I think we got, it was like 45-44, and had a wide open shot that Will hit at least half the time, missed it, and that would have put us ahead. And it seemed like we were playing catch-up the rest of the night.
Look at Fred running the court again. Good things happen when you're active and you break out of there, and Fred does that more and more each game. Well, there it is. They're not a great first-team shot. If you went back and looked at the tape, which you guys did, I'm sure that the first shots were not the problem. It was the second and sometimes third attempts that did us in.
That was the biggest thing in the ball game. They beat us 45-29 on the boards. We gave up 16 offensive rebounds, and it wasn't the first shot. It was that second opportunity that we gave them.
And there's Roland again, coming up with a couple of big buckets down the stretch. To the Cowboys, certainly to their character, they didn't give up by any means and hung right in there, but never could get over that final hump. Lost that game. Back home against Langston. What were you trying to get out of this one other than just get the taste of LSU out of your mouth?
Well, we want to start the new century off with a win, but in a game like this, they were really outmanned, and we did them a favor of playing this ball game. We'll always play Division I teams if we possibly can, but occasionally you can't find someone, and so you end up playing a Division II or Division III or an NAIA ball club. And of course, Langston's part of our system. The Board of Regents governs both institutions, and they're close by. And we did them a real favor because they got a sizable guarantee. Look at that follow shot now. Desmond has dunked the ball in spectacular fashion since he's been here at Oklahoma State, but I'm not sure that wasn't as good a dunk on a follow shot that I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's one of the all-time greats right there, is that he wasted very little motion. And in this shot, what happened? I know fans have asked, he comes out wearing number 5. Did he have an equipment problem?
Well, at halftime, they discovered some blood on his uniform, and when you have blood on your uniform, you got to change it. And it came out, and I guess they couldn't find 34, his other uniform, so he came out in 5 and wore it for a while.
And then he got back to 34.
Doing a little coaching there with Jason, trying to get him ready to play as we enter the Big 12. There he is.
Jason got some playing time as well, and really, it's a game that you got what you wanted. There were a lot of career highs set. But frankly, it gave the Cowboys a good piece of momentum heading into Big 12 play.
Well, we also almost broke the school record for most points. I think we missed it by 2. Well, we had, I think, 45 field goals and 36 assists, which
That's
is
nice.
an amazing stat, and had some guys really play well at the offensive end. Probably gave up too many points, but good win, and now we're ready for Big 12 play.
Well, they say you're only as strong as your coaching staff. We're going to take a look at the Cowboys' assistants when we return to the Eddie Sutton Show. You know, you've heard it so many times. You've heard Eddie say he hires assistant coaches who have the potential to someday head up their own programs. The list of head coaches who learn the trade under Eddie Sutton continues to grow with each new season. And on this week's Off the Court feature, you're going to hear from the Cowboy assistants, and you'll find out for yourself what makes this coaching staff at Oklahoma State so special.
Coach Sutton, you know, is a great basketball coach. I've always admired his work, and also was very impressed with his assistant coaches and how loyal they were to him. And since I've been here, I've learned some things, not only about the game, but also about different approach to the game, players, you know, management, those type things. He's one of the best in that area, and so I learned a lot about basketball, not just on the floor, but also off the court, about certain things, how to handle certain situations, how to deal with certain players, and in this business, players management, you know, is really a very, very big part of coaching. A part of having a successful team is having staff that respect each other, they get along. We're all on the same page, and certainly here, you know, I really enjoy working with, you know, with Sean and with Kyle and Coach Sutton. It's just a tremendous chemistry, and there's a lot of respect, and that's very important to me.
Every day is a thrill for me. I mean, as far as, you know, I think growing up here in the state, and you know, from a family standpoint, having my father and being a graduate at Oklahoma State, and being a graduate myself, and following the program as a child, wanting to coach basketball from the day I can remember, and then get an opportunity to work for a legend like Coach Sutton, and working with Sean and Coach Williams, and learning from them as well, and being around these great young men. I mean, I wake up every day, and being around the holidays, it's Christmas 365 days a year for me. As long as I coach, I hope that I'll learn every day that I do coach, and I think that the day that I stop learning, I think it's the day that I'll get out of coaching, because I think when you stop learning in anything that you do is you know, you need to get out, and I want to continue to grow, and I think working with Coach Sutton, you know, he's simply great, and that's the term that I use when people always ask me, you know, what makes Coach Sutton, you know, special, and he just simplifies everything and makes our guys execute everything to the T, and I think that's what makes, you know, our team really good, is that we have great execution, and our guys, he's very demanding, and that's what makes our group really special.
Certainly had a great experience playing for my father, both at Kentucky and Oklahoma State. This is a situation that's a little unique and something that I never really envisioned, but it's all pretty much business at the office. Certainly I've studied the other assistants through my years of playing, guys like James Dickey, guys growing up around Gene Cady, certainly Bill Self, Leonard Hamilton, Rob Evans, some of the very good assistant coaches he's had, and have tried to, you know, take on the same responsibilities those guys had when they were assistant coaches, and learn as much as I can from him on an everyday basis, so someday I'll be able to run my own program. The fact that Jimmy and Kyle are both new has maybe added a little responsibility in the fact that trying to get them to understand exactly what we're trying to accomplish and the ins and outs of our system. But for the most part, I don't think my responsibility has changed much more in the last couple of years than it is this year. He doesn't want to hire anybody to be his assistant unless they have the ambition to go on and be a head coach someday and run their own program. I think the fact that he's a very hands-on head coach, he trains his assistant coaches on an everyday basis, prepares them and puts them in situations so someday when the head coaching opportunity comes, he'll feel like they're totally ready, they've seen everything, and they'll go out and do very well on their own. I think Hunter and Spencer are a little smarter right now than me and my dad, and I don't quite envision them getting in this profession, but you know, if they wanted to someday, and I was fortunate to be a head coach and felt like they could help my staff, sure, I would consider that.
Those guys are too kind as far as their compliments to me, but I've had some great assistant coaches, and you know, we lost two quality ones in Paul Graham and Randall Dickey, but I am so blessed to have Jimmy Williams and Kyle Keller, two replacements, and of course Sean's been with me forever, it seems like, but we really have a great staff. And I think the one thing that I've always tried to do is to let assistant coaches coach, let them try to teach them everything you can so that when they do become a head coach, they'll be able to do a great job. And I'm very proud of the basketball family of guys that have gone on to head up their own programs and they've done well. But any success we enjoy this year, believe me, those three guys will not get enough credit. I will get too much.
Well, I look forward to the day that Hunter and Spencer kind of join Sean's staff somewhere down the line. We've got the question of the week in the notebook still ahead, so stay with us. Well, we are back, and here's our question about conditioning.
Sam, we continue to lift weights 3 days a week during the season to maintain our strength level.
Well, time for that real popular time of our show where we knock the lamp down in our reporter's notebook. First item up, big numbers, and that's got to do with standings. Those guys at the top have double-digit wins.
Well, the Big 12 is much stronger than it was a year ago. I think everybody knew that was going to happen, but some impressive non-conference records at the top, and from top to bottom, the league is just going to be a lot stronger. A lot of good play for the fans this year.
You know, after the Texas Tech game, which comes up Saturday at 12:45, on the road for the next 6. Tough start.
Well, it is a tough start, but you got to play 16 games, 8 at home, 8 on the road, so you got to play them sometime.
And making progress. That's our third item right there.
Gallagher Iba continues to be on schedule. We'll be looking forward to a finished product a year from now.
James Dickey in town Saturday, 12:45.
Texas Tech.
I tell you, it's a big one. Get off on the right foot. That's all the time we have for this week's show. Thanks for joining us. For Eddie Sutton, our entire crew here at Educational Television Services, Tom Dirato. Goodbye, everybody.
The Eddie Sutton Show has been brought to you by Jeep and your local Jeep dealers for the gold standard of 4x4.